Lost my presentation. Where'd it
Hi,
go?
hi
Hey,
everyone. Sorry,
sorry, I'm
Tom.
just going to open the presentation again. It's disappeared on me.
Hi everyone. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Nico. I am the operations exec at Gastech, and I am essentially the main point of contact for any operational queries for exhibitors. On behalf of the Gastech team, I would like to thank you all for joining us today for our health and safety session and our stand plans. I'll be led by our EEP team. Just a quick bit of ground rules before we get started. If you have any queries, please message in the chat. Myself and a member of our team will be going through the chat and answering any questions that you may have. We'll keep all the mics muted until the presentation is over. Once the presentation is over, we will continue. We'll unmute everyone where you can ask some questions. Without further ado, I'll give it to Tom from EEP.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so welcome to the health and safety stand plan submissions. Most of you will probably have done a Gastech before and will be aware of most of this information, so it'll be a refresher for those of you. For those who are new to Gastech, this is how it works. So our team are Kyla Austin, who she's away at the moment, but she's the lead on the team. And then she's supported by Logan Scott, Purity Takanisa, and Gemma Price. So they will each be taking on your stands. And once they've taken on your stand, we'll liaise directly with you as to any changes that might need to be done, and so on. So space-only stands are where you have paid for a space on the floor in one of the halls. You get only the space, nothing else. Everything else from there, you have to either bring yourself. If you've got a contractor who is designing your stand for you, they will bring everything along. Or in the case of electrics, you would order through the venue, electrics, plumbing, those sorts of things. If it's a shell scheme, then that's a package deal. You get everything that's included in the package that you pay for. Space-only stand types, you get non-complex stands and complex stands. Non-complex stands are up to 4 meters in height and have no rigging. Effectively, anything that doesn't fall in those two things, anything up to 4 meters but with rigging, over 4 meters with or without rigging, 2-story stands, double deckers. If you have a horizontal span, sorry, it's going too quickly for me. A horizontal span, which means if you have 2 pillars with a effectively a beam or a crossover section between them that spans more than 4 meters without any support in the middle, that gets classified as complex. Raised areas above 3 meters. So effectively, if you're putting down a platform that is over 300 millimeters above the floor, that makes it complex. Anything that's moving, such as a turntable, turntables, rotating signs, machine that's turning, because of what's involved there, that makes it a complex stand. And then effectively any other working machinery or heavy elements on the stand. The deadline for documentation is the 4th of July, catching up with us quite quickly. All documentation must be submitted by the Piero Milano portal. Everyone who has a stand, every exhibitor will have a login. This you would have to share with your contractors if they're doing the submission for you. You have to submit a risk assessment, it is mandatory. A method statement is mandatory, and then the stand plans. If a stand is considered complex, then you have to also submit structural calculations for the structures with a professional engineer's endorsement. And if it's rigging, also structural calculations and endorsement. Here's an example of a risk assessment. You must show any risks that are involved with the building of the stand, the breaking down of the stand, and risks that may be involved during the show. So going back to the turntable, that would be something you'd put in your risk assessment. Examples are of build and break risks are manual handling, working at height, machinery. You can see them all on the right-hand side of the screen there as examples. Method statement. This is a description of how you are going to be building the stand. I did have a few years ago on another event where there was a ending, and the method statement I got was, when we pick up boxes, we will use our legs and not our back to pick up the items, which is quite correct. It is a method statement, but not what we're looking for. And method statement is a description of, we will first, when we get to our space, we will first be laying the floor, then we'll build the walls, or then we'll put in the rigging and raise the rigging, then we'll build the walls. That's an example of what we're looking for on a method statement. You're just detailing how you are building the stand. Stand plans need to be structural drawings, so 3D drawings that show the length, width, and height of your stand, and must show everything that's on the stand, counters, furniture, must show that you're dressing the reverse of the stand. So if your stand wall is above 2.5 meters and overlooking another stand, it must be dressed down on the rear of the stand, of the rear of the wall, in white, not in any branding. You can't have branding overlooking your neighboring stands. So what we're looking for when we're assessing a stand is we're checking the stand heights, the dimensions, orientation. If it has open sides, which affects whether you're allowed to build, how far you can build a wall along, walling, ceilings, all of these items here are things we look at when doing stand plan checks. The process is you submit them to the online portal. EEP will then audit the submission, checking that everything applies to the rules of the manual, the venue, and the G guide. If there's any documentation required from there, it would be requested. Then, so it would go from submitting. It would then, if there's anything missing, it would go back to requesting it again. Once it's approved, it would go on to the venue. They will check it. If they feed back to us that there's anything else they need, it would come back to us to go back to this process. And eventually, once the venue is happy, it would then be approved. So it'll then get the final approval. The flow chart, as I've shown that previous flow chart, would be in the is visible in the manual. Sorry, getting a bit tongue twisted there. If your stand plan is complex, you need to have these any calculations for the walling or for rigging need to be certified and must be endorsed by the Gastech structural engineer. There will be an engineer endorsement fee. That should all be specified, the rates on the manual. Fiera Milano is the official structural engineer at Gastech 2025, and when this PowerPoint is shared with everybody, all the information is there as to where you can contact them. You can use your own structural engineer to provide structural calculations. However, they will still need to be endorsed by the Gastech structural engineer. And then, of course, we may not deem a structure as complex for one reason or another. The venue still reserves the right to override that decision if they deem it complex from a venue regulations point of view. On site, at the end of the work, the contractor or stand fitter must provide a declaration of correct assembly, which has to be handed over to the stand control office at Fiera Milano. A declaration of correct fitting of reaction to fire classified materials, also handed to the same place. A declaration of conformity, which is based or pursuant to the Ministerial Decree 0837 for electrical systems, which must be handed over to customer service, and a static test, stop going back, a static test structural inspection performed by the structural engineer. So this will be signed off by the structural engineer. The control office is, sorry, I can't really read that. I can read the location, but I can't read the right in the image. But it is, if you could hold 11 and 9 on the left-hand side and 7 and 5 on the right-hand side, the structural control office is located in between them.
Hi, Tom. Let me just add on to that point.
Please feel free.
Yeah, so the customer service area where you hand it in is located in the south entrance. There'll be signs on directing you to this.
Okay. So we'll just go through some frequently asked questions and give you the answers to those. Where a stand has walling facing aisles or side of the stand facing the aisle, you are allowed to build a maximum or close off a maximum of 50% of the walling, as shown in this image here. This is to ensure accessibility to your stand and to avoid the stand across the aisle looking onto a wall. It's to give a free flow feel to the event. There are exceptions, but these exceptions have to be granted. They're not automatically accepted. Your walling cannot exceed 1.5 meters in height, or at any point, or 50% a solid wall and 50% it's transparent. So if we look at that side there, if you had a wall the whole way and half of that walling was transparent, so you can see through it, this could be granted as an exception. You cannot do both options. It has to be either or, 1.5 or a 50-50. Glass and glazing. The table on the right shows you different thicknesses based on the size. So the bigger your panel of glass, the thicker the glass needs to be in order to give it structural integrity. You also must have in your glass frosting to stop people walking into it when they don't see it. So the frosting must be a minimum 50% of the glass. And here's some example of patterns. It could be stripes, vertical or horizontal, or dots or wavy patterns. Just something to make the glass panel more visible. There are halls 14, 18, 22, and 24 which have height restrictions. And there's a maximum build height of 6 meters and a maximum rigging height of 7 meters. There are some stands which may be affected by columns, so please be aware when you're looking at your floor plans, where your stand is, check whether you have columns in your stand, because that may affect your design. That's something you can check with the operations team. We will also, in our assessment, look at that. So if your design hasn't taken a pillar into account, we will feed that back to you. Rigging, so all rigging is deemed complex. The connection points in the venue must be ordered through Milano Civil Services portal, and you must have a complete a static calculation report, a static identity of the whole suspended structure. If you don't have that information, Milano can provide the certification service. Once again, there will be a fee for that service. Covered ceilings. So if you are enclosing a space, if you have a meeting space or you're covering the top of your stand, if it's fully enclosed with a solid material, you must have a fire alarm system. It must have audio and visual warnings. It must also have sprinkler systems fitted in, and a smoke detector per every 6.5 meters. You may not have a ceiling that is supported from rigging and attached to the ground rig. They must be either ground supported or rig supported. They cannot be a combination of both. Platforms and ramps. If you have a platform of 38 millimeters or higher, there must be a wheelchair ramp onto the platform to allow for accessibility of those who are in wheelchairs. Ramps must be clearly visible, either with a change in floor color or with strips to show that the ramp is there, and should have a maximum slope of 8 degrees. So 1 and 8. Open corners of stand floors and platforms should be splayed, rounded, or angled. So when often aluminium edging is put on platforms, where two edges come together at a corner, that should be a rounded corner. It should not end with a sharp point. Dressing on the reverse stands, I've mentioned that a bit earlier, but this image shows it nicely. Where your stand wall is 2.5 meters or higher, no, is higher than 2.5 meters and is overlooking another stand, so their walling is lower, that section has to be dressed in plain white with no branding. That has to be dressed down to 2.4 meters to prevent there being a gap there where you can see the reverse of the stand. I would recommend, it's not a regulation, but I would recommend on edge panels that it's dressed to the ground, because if there's any gap between these two walls, which there shouldn't be, then you're looking again onto the back of a stand wall. Doors. So opening of doors may not open onto an aisle. Doors should always open outwards in the direction of escape. So if you have a room that has a door on the aisle, it should not be like that. It should be set back so the door is still opening onto the stand. So any of those three options would be fine, where the door is recessed. That's to prevent people opening doors out into the aisle, into people that are walking there. Doors must also have a vision panel in them. This is, once again, a safety. So when you're opening a door in the direction it opens, you're not opening it into people. And also in the case of any emergency, such as a fire, you can look into the room easily to see if someone has perhaps collapsed inside that room. Duplex stands, where you have a high platform that requires stairs, or where a double decker, stairs must have handrails and balustrades. Stability must be ensured. Exit and escape routes. These are all things that will be looked at. How they're constructed and dismantled to prevent working on live edges. The loads will be assessed, the occupancy. So if you have a double decker or a raised area, how many people can be on that area at one time, which would also take the floor loading, both the floor loading of that raised area and the floor loading of the hall, to ensure that your stand is not too heavy for the flooring. So there you go. Now we can open it up to questions. Anyone there?
Oh, sorry. I'm just gonna open it up to the floor. But before we do that, I've seen a couple of questions coming in. Josh is asking on the sprinkler system. It's news for him, and it's not been mentioned in the manual. So I just want to clarify that within your, if you have a meeting room and a closed ceiling, that you do not need the sprinkler system, but you'll need the fire, essentially a fire safety. So you'll need a smoke detector, the fire alarm. That's both visual and audio. So this was mentioned within the manual.
But my apologies if I might have pulled that one. I remember that one from a couple of years ago in Milan, where they had to, if it was above a certain area, because the ceiling sprinklers of the venue would not then water that area in the case of a fire. I remember them enforcing sprinkler
Yeah.
systems. So,
No, yeah, so that was in 2022. But this
okay.
year, if you do have a ceiling, should just be the audio and the visual, that's acceptable. And that will be, you can find that on the A to Z of the manual, on the ceilings. I have now unmute everyone, so you should be free to unmute yourself and ask a question. So let's go off with Paul. Paul, can you try it now?
Perfect. Got it. Thank you. Yeah, and during a previous site visit, I was also told that the fire extinguishers would be provided by the convention center. Is that also still correct?
Yes, that is correct. So
Perfect.
every single stand will get a fire extinguisher. I think it's for every 10 square meters. I will need to double check that, but every stand will get a fire extinguisher.
Okay, great. And then has there been any further discussion about early move-in and when that's going to start or if it's going to start?
Yeah, sure. Paul, if you send me an email at operations@gastech event.com, I can share that with you. But we do have early move-in available for the Thursday, and if we'll need more days, we could give you more options.
Amazing. We will send you a note after this. Appreciate it. Thanks, Nico.
No, we'll go over to Josh.
Hello. So I saw a message pop up regarding drayage, and there is no drayage fee.
Yeah.
So just to confirm, deliveries, trucking, coming in, unloading with forks and storage, is there tariffs related to all of that, or?
I will recommend reaching out to our partner DSV. So I'll share their email into the chat, and they will be able to handle all those questions for you.
Yeah, that's fine. I've already spoken with DSV. That's all good. I was just checking with drayage terminology can sometimes get a little bit misconstrued, but that's cool. Thank you.
No worries. And if we go on next to Maria.
Hello, hi. I was wondering about the waste disposals for a build-up. Do we need to have our own waste disposals, or can we book from the fair?
You can book it through Ferro Milano. Ferro Milano has their on-site supplier that can help with waste removal as well.
Okay, so that's not mandatory. We can also have our own.
Yes, you can have your own as well. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And yeah, if we go ahead, Josh.
Sorry, just another one. I think I missed I missed half of the chat about frosting glass. So we have perimeter walls that go around our stand, and the first meter is solid wooden walling, and then there's about 750 mil glass panel that comes out the top of that with a timber cap on the top of it. Now these panels are currently clear going the whole way round because they're extruding from a solid wall unit. Does that mean we still have to frost it, or is that okay?
That's a very good question, Josh. Generally, glass panels have been whole walls. Because you've got a meter high walling, I will actually have to come back to you on that. I would suggest potentially putting above a sort of maybe another half meter up a stripe, a horizontal stripe, just to stop that people do walk. But I don't think people will walk into it if you've got a meter high wall already.
You'd hope not.
You would hope not. Let me feed that back to Nico. I'll have to check up on that one. That's not a question I've been asked before.
Cool.
Yeah, Josh, if you could share the plans with me on operations@gastechevent.com, I'll be able to advise you further on that.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, no, and I'm really sorry if I get your name wrong. Is it Lobos?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Hi, everyone. I have seen one regulation that's all the bars and the pedestal must be placed at 1 meter from the stand perimeter. Is it right or not?
Yes, that's correct. All essentially presentation bars, pedestals should be placed 1 meter away from the perimeter of essentially the aisle. This is to stop congestion within the aisles itself. You can have it there, but if there's congestions within the aisles, our team is likely to start to disperse members away from your stand.
And is there some exceptions or no?
No, unfortunately not. This is also, it depends on what it is that you have as well. If you share some plans with me, I could confirm yes or no.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
All right. And if we go with Darlene. Darlene, are you able to unmute?
Hi. Hi, Thomas and Nico. Yeah. I have a question regarding our stand. We are planning to have a LED screen instead of TV for our show. So is there any restrictions for having a LED screen?
No, no restrictions as long as they're again within our stand plan guidelines. LED screen should be fine.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. Only that.
Alright. And I'm not sure, Josh, if you have a question again.
My bad. All right. Sorry.
No. Maria?
I'm sorry, I always forget about the microphone. So I have two questions. One is about cleaning up, because I see that space only stands have vacuuming included. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Every stand will have vacuuming already included within their package. So every day after the show and before the show, Ferro Milano will vacuum and empty the bins. If you require additional cleaning, so such as cleaning of your displays, you can order that through the Ferro Milano portal.
Okay, I see. Thanks. And what about we have a small storage. It should be like roughly 1.5 meters by 2. Is it mandatory to have a window in the door?
Yes.
But do you have dimensions, or is it up to us?
That'll be up to you, but it will have to be again visible for us to see, just in case anything is happening inside that storage room.
Okay, so it should be eye level and visible. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have any other questions? Doesn't look like at the moment, but I'll go through some of our Q&A. So just for you guys to be aware that yes, this is being recorded and will be shared with you as soon as possible. This will be shared on email and through the manual as well. I'll just go through some questions that were asked. So Tom, Maria again has asked, her booth is a complex booth and she'll have a hanging sign. Do they need to order the services before, so there's calculations and the trust before they submit their stand plans, or can they submit their stand plans then order afterwards?
I would submit the stand plans first, because if they order before the stand plans are approved, that might affect the approval, might affect where they can hang them, because they can't be hanging right on the border of a neighboring stand, for example. So I would suggest submitting it, and then once at least the basic design of the stand is approved, they can then go ahead with ordering it through Fiat Milano.
So thanks. So actually, I can order also the static calculations afterwards, right? That's what you were.
Yeah, well, Fiat Milano would need all of those static calculations to know, one, what size motors to use, how many points would be needed for that, to confirm. If you say you want 4 points, they will confirm from those calculations whether 4 points would be enough, for example. We do request all of those calculations, well, all of the rigging information also, so that we also have it on hand should we get asked any questions by the engineers on site.
I see. So I just sent you everything, every information, and if you approve on it, I can order everything, like the static calculations, either for the
I mean, if you've supplied us with all of the rigging information, as much as you have, you can, once you've sent the static calculations to the Fiera Milano, you can always update us with any changes that need to be made.
Okay, yeah.
But the initial check as to where you're hanging it, all of that, with regards to the stand below the signage, we would need to check that, and then after that, it's the Fiera Milano would deal with it. Okay,
and last question. You were saying that we can't have the rigging on the perimeter of the booth. Is that right?
If it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Nico, if it's on the perimeter of the booth by an aisle, it's okay, but it can't be on the perimeter of the booth if you're backing up to another stand.
Oh,
Yes,
no,
yeah.
that's only,
Because by
okay.
backing up onto another stand, you're looking, it was effectively it's overlooking their stand then.
Okay, no, that's not an issue then. Thanks. Thank you.
Do we have, is there any other questions? I've just seen another one come in. I'm not sure, Chantal, about the fee that you had to pay for a badge. Our badges are free of charge, and you could order these via the Ferro Milano portal, especially your contractor badge for build and breakdown. That will be live within the next couple of weeks. So this will give all your contractors access before the show opens to build their stands, and then on the Monday, the normal Gastech badge will give you access into the halls. And then I've got Peter earlier who asked, how do they upload stand plans and certificates if they don't have a Ferro Milano account? So as mentioned, all exhibitors will have an account with Ferro Milano, a single sign-on link. So you could just click on the link and it'll take you to the Ferro Milano portal. If you cannot access that portal, please reach out to operations@gastechevents.com. Additionally, we will be reaching out to you in case we don't have your VAT number or a tax relevant number that will give you access to the portal. Chantal, on how to cancel an exhibitor badge, if you email myself and I'll pass you over to the registration team, we'll be able to cancel that exhibitor badge for you. If there is no more questions, I'll end it here. And just to, again, thank everyone for joining us. And just to remind you that in August, services will be slow in Ferro Milano. You can still order from their portal. However, via email, it will take just a little bit longer. And the week commencing the 11th of August, Ferro Milano will be completely shut down. So there will be no services during this time. But again, you can still order through their portal. This will be recorded and will be shared afterwards via email and onto the manual. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to us at operations@gastechevent.com. Thank you and have a great day.